Look at almost any protest, college dorm, or city street around the world, and you will eventually find this face. Ernesto Che Guevara is recognized globally as an emblem of rebellion, a champion of the oppressed, and a symbol of social justice. But the man who lived behind the image left a different record. Guevara oversaw hundreds of executions without trial, characterized capitalism as a contest among wolves, and wrote that a revolutionary must become a cold killing machine. This creates a paradox. We have to look at how a commander who openly defended firing squads at the UN managed to transition into history's most recognizable pop culture hero. Before he wore a uniform, Ernesto Guevara was an Argentine medical student. In 1950, he rigged a small engine to a bicycle and later took a motorcycle to travel thousands of miles across South America. He documented these conditions in his journals, treating patients in leper colonies and walking through rural slums where poverty and disease were the only constants. He linked this suffering to the geopolitical landscape of the time. He observed vast regions where the economy was controlled by US-backed corporate monopolies, operating with the protection of local regimes. These travels led Guevara to a final conclusion. He became convinced that the system could not be reformed through peaceful means, and that armed revolution was the only possible cure for the continent's inequality. Seeking to act on those beliefs, Guevara traveled to Mexico and met an exiled Cuban rebel named Fidel Castro. Together, they boarded a leaky yacht and sailed for Cuba to launch a guerrilla campaign against the government. During the grueling campaign in the Sierra Maestra Mountains, Guevara shifted from a medic to a tactical commander. He proved to be a disciplined leader, successfully organizing local peasants into an armed vanguard. Over 2 years of fighting, the insurgency dismantled the military's control. By 1959, they successfully overthrew the US-backed dictatorship of Fulgencio Batista. The transition was complete. The traveler had hardened into a military commander who prioritized absolute victory over his earlier medical training. Once in power, Guevara oversaw the revolutionary tribunals. He established firing squads to eliminate those he deemed enemies of the new state, often conducting executions before investigations were complete. He sought to re-engineer society through his new man ideology. This required citizens to abandon individual ambition and material incentives, replacing them with total self-sacrifice for the collective. Enforcing this vision meant suppressing all dissent. Guevara oversaw the persecution of homosexuals and political opponents, while expressing views of racial superiority over people of African descent. His ideology soon extended to the global stage. By helping bring Soviet nuclear missiles to Cuba, Guevara played a central role in the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis, which brought the world to the edge of nuclear war. In 1964, he stood before the United Nations General Assembly. In his speech, he openly defended the use of executions as a revolutionary necessity, asserting Cuba's right to maintain its path through force. For Guevara, the creation of the new man was not an aspirational campaign. It was a radical social engineering project that relied on the systematic removal of anyone who did not fit his moral mold. Guevara refused to remain in a government office. In 1965, he left Cuba to ignite global revolutions against U.S. imperialism, seeking to create many Vietnams across Africa and South America. This trajectory followed his campaigns from the Congo to the jungles of Bolivia. At every step, data shows an increasing U.S. intelligence presence tracking him. The U.S. mobilized a high-level manhunt. CIA operatives and rangers converged, surrounding his fighters. On October 8, 1967, Guevara was captured and summarily executed the following day. To provide proof of death to Washington, his hands were amputated and sent for fingerprint analysis before he was buried in an unmarked grave. The intelligence agencies eliminated the physical threat, but the manner of his death provided the final ingredient for his transition into a global icon. In the decades since, the reality of his actions, the mass executions, the overt racism, and the suppression of dissent, was largely removed from the popular narrative. Instead, the violent life of an authoritarian commander was sanitized into a romanticized image, printed on a vast range of consumer goods. This is the power of iconography, A single photograph can rewrite a history, masking the record of a human being behind a stylized and seemingly unbreakable myth.